Oh, by the way, Doctor Who's back, which I'm pretty sure is what the headline would have read in the Radio Times. So, with probably the most minimal amount of ceremony possible, yes, we have the next season of Doctor Who just kicked off. This time it is a season called Flux. Now, this is the first time in a long time Doctor Who has devoted the entire season to one continuous story arc. Of course, the last time they did this, the irony is not lost on me that Chibnall is doing a season like this, particularly since he... I'm just going to play this.
Could have been a lot better. It could have been slightly better written, especially the last story.
I told you we would never let you forget, Chibbers. I suppose to get my final feeling on this particular episode, I have to see how it plays into the story as a whole. Now, there's a part of me left optimistic after watching this first episode, because I remember that, yeah, Chibnall actually does seem to do better when he has full control of the entire story. Yes, while I was not a big fan of Broadchurch, the one thing I will say is that the narrative was compelling enough to get me going all the way through, so at least I'll have a good ride getting up to a okay finale. And I suppose because that's what I have to look forward to, I suppose when we get to that ending, it may be better than I expect. You know, I'm still continuously optimistic, because that's what the Doctor would be. So there's a couple big things to note about this whole season. First off, we do have a new companion, blandly named Dan Lewis, but fortunately not so blandly played by John Bishop, and actually, to Chibnall's credit, does an especially good job setting up this character. He is immediately likable. The first time we see him, he's leading a tour group at a museum, and he's very passionate, he's very all up on history, he's kind of excited about it. And, well, you find out that, oh no, he doesn't actually work there. He's just really enthusiastic. And then you also see that he works at a soup kitchen. Basically, he's a very altruistic individual who just seems to just really enjoy making people happy. But at the same time, though, he's not naive, where he's fully aware that, yeah, sometimes people can be assholes. It's a good setup for him as a character, and I will say, a lot of his reactions to some of the more extraordinary aspects, of course, being confronted by a anthropomorphic dog in his own living room, is, I would say, that's a sequence that did work for endearing us to this new character. I suspect we're not going to have long with this guy, especially in the wake of the recent news, but I hope that, you know, the time that we have with him will make it worthwhile and make him memorable, and not make him, you know, just like a kind of one-hit wonder character where the only thing they do is die. Looking your way, Katarina. This is the first episode of a 6-part saga. Obviously, there's going to be a lot going on in here. So, again, you can't properly give your grade on this one until you see how the entire thing plays out. Now, could this be Chibnall just, you know, throwing everything in the hopes that some stuff will fly with people? Probably. The one thing I will say that flies with me is the idea of the dog people, whose name, unfortunately, has abandoned me because I just got back from work and I didn't get a chance to write down my notes. But I will say this, they were kind of an endearment to me for a very personal reason. A couple years back, I actually did live readings of my own self-written radio plays of Doctor Who, and one of them is a play called Wholesale Strategy. And it involves the Doctor and his companion Jessica ending up on a planet that's in a perpetual war, and the population is a group of anthropomorphic dog people. And I laugh to myself because I'm like, you know what, I could just rewrite it and just simply rename them to these characters. Because I made up those life forms in response to the cat nuns in New Earth, because I was like, well, you got the cats, what happened with the dogs? And you know what, to Chibnall's credit, he finally gave them to us. Now, to get a little deeper into this, we are going to have to get into... We find out that one of these dog people are actually not here to invade Earth. He's one of a whole slew, like a 7 billion strong battle fleet. And you think it's all to destroy Earth like it usually is, but no, you find out, nope, every single one of them has some kind of soul oath or soul bond to every single human on Earth, because, of course, dog's man's best friend, which I did kind of laugh at. Not since the movie Cats and Dogs has that concept been taken more literally. So, I laughed. Now, the whole backstory is inconsistent if you take into account, well, where the hell were you during all the other mass crises that Earth has encountered? But again, where were the Time Lords when the Doctor first stole a Type 40 TARDIS? And if they were so all-powerful, how come they didn't just find the Doctor in his time stream, just pluck him out right then and there, like they did in the War Games? I could go on all day pointing out discrepancies. Sometimes you just got to take the ride. And I will say this ride came with a very enjoyable, Dogman character with a great performance, and honestly kind of adorable makeup that, much like Dan, I kind of wanted to pet myself. So there you go. Though one thing, and I'm still going to say the thing that's consistently great about Chibnall's era as a whole, and frankly I will defy anyone who disagrees with this, again, he is really great at epic scale filmmaking. Like, the people who he hires to make the episodes, the show has never looked better. I mean, every single scenario you see in here, it's big and it feels big. I just wish that the emotions of the stories complemented that, because then I feel like we would have a winner. I suppose the thing I actually am excited about with Russell T Davies coming back is that he's always been good at having the emotions of the scene complement the scale of the story. There were seldom times in the course of every season where I didn't feel some kind of emotional attachment. So I do look forward to seeing that again. I just wish Chibnall has been able to pull that off. I mean, Moffat did it many times, but not as often as Russell T Davies. But so that's the one thing I will say I'm excited to see more of again when he comes back. But I will say this: Chibnall, again, really knows how to make a good-looking show. And, the designs of everything we're seeing here, again, I was like, whoa. And this is the stuff I wouldn't mind seeing on the big screen. So, and especially with the titular Flux, as we see as it's devouring planets, disintegrating them, I don't think I ever felt a sense of dread of this anonymous force. Well, honestly, it kind of it's funny, it doesn't even look like it, but it kind of reminds me of the opening of Transformers the movie when Unicron eats the planets. And I just remember just this sense of dread and just how horrific it is to see planets with in all likelihood, millions upon millions of lives being snuffed out in this spectacular fashion. And I felt the same way watching this. And you have the actor who played Grey Worm on Game of Thrones play kind of like at this point, kind of like a Greek chorus character, kind of like an observer watching this go down initially, which, again, we don't know how he's going to play with the rest of the story, but I will say he did serve a good purpose in commenting on what we're seeing and being pretty much among the few observers to be able to get away and find out. So I'm excited to see where he comes into play with the story as a whole. While I'm sad that we didn't really get a good send-off with Graham and Ryan, I'm not sad that they're gone, for the very simple fact that I really, really enjoying the back and forth between Yaz and the Doctor. This is kind of what I always wanted to see out of Yaz, and I'm really happy that we're finally getting that in this first episode. And in a way, kind of like what with Clara in the latter times during her run, you really are seeing Yaz become this seasoned adventurer, but I love that you actually are getting her giving a little more back talk to the Doctor. In a way, it's kind of like what they probably attempted with Tegan, only I feel like they were able to accomplish it way better with Yaz in this episode. So if this is where we're going with the character, I'm looking forward to it, just because, frankly, she's due. The character's due to take the spotlight. And I'm really kind of happy that Dan didn't steal that from her, which is kind of what I was worried about with the announcement that we were getting another companion to replace Graham and Ryan. I was like, no, let's just focus on Yaz. And I'm glad that in this episode we did. Another intro to this episode is a new villain. The Swarm is one that has a great intro, granted one that is pretty much predictable, but I kind of don't care because, again, the imagery of the character is so striking, and the way he's introduced, leading into the character that we're seeing, and it's one that makes you go, who is this person? What is he all about? Who is this sister that he's with, and how did she end up where she was to ultimately follow him on this adventure? But the most important question, and the one thing that I was hoping that they wouldn't do, and to my delight, it seems like they're not doing it. I was hoping that they would not full-blown retcon the Timeless Child, and it seems like they are going to ride with it, because this new villain called the Swarm is making allusions to the fact that he knows the Doctor from those days that the Doctor is completely unaware of. And it seems like we are going to get a chance to see someone who really knows the Doctor intimately, he has made allusions that for that entire lifetime, he was the master for her, or for the Doctor during that time period. So immediately, Chibnall was able to write a character who is intriguing, who is downright menacing. So far, practically everyone this character has interacted with has died horrific deaths. And this character has no problem smack talking the Doctor from light years away, and seems to have some kind of kinship with this phenomena that is decimating everything in the universe. And it all culminates in a especially effective cliffhanger, which I have no idea how they're going to get out of this one, but that's the making of a good Doctor Who cliffhanger, is how do they get out of this one. Much like the season premieres of all of his seasons, Chibnall has actually given us a strong starter, like something to hook us to want to continue going. Now, again, the final tally of how this one goes is all going to be determined on how all of this ends. Chibnall does have better luck when it comes to serialized storytelling, so we'll see how he goes from there. Hopefully this will fare a lot better than Trial of a Time Lord, but you know what, I haven't done reviews on that. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, inevitably. But by and large, I was cool with this episode. I'm not as jazzed as I used to be, but then again, my enthusiasms have kind of shifted of late, unless you've noticed. But nevertheless, I'm always going to gravitate back to Doctor Who. I've already bought the season. I'm going to watch it when it airs. And much like always on Narcotic Casserole, I will do reviews for every single episode as they air. So, do you agree? Do you disagree? Given everyone's attitude, I'm pretty sure you disagree. But I don't care, because I'm still going to love Doctor Who no matter what. So leave it all in the comments section below. And for more addictive content on Narcotic Casserole, simply like, share, subscribe, click. Thou shalt be served.